presentation is the first one in 3 presentations on water bodies that I used in my course. The presentation is we'll start with frequently asked questions about water bodies and a short video. Then we are going to talk about general types of water bodies and examples. Then we go through a very detailed list of the 48 water bodies one by one, and we end the presentation by a photo and short definition of the 48 types. The frequently asked questions are, we will start, the whole presentation is a series of beautiful photographs. This is one of them, and the question is, what is a body of water? A body of water, which is sometimes called a water body, is a collection of water, and we use generally this term to refer to relatively large collections of water like oceans, lakes, rivers, and streams. Some people will also use the term water body to refer to a small collection of water held by a plant, but this is more technically called a phytothelma, and the term body of water in this presentation is usually reserved for geographical features. The phytothelma is a small water-filled cavity in a terrestrial plant, and the water accumulated within these plants may serve as the habitat for associated fauna and flora. For those who don't know what's fauna and flora, fauna is all the animal life present in a particular region or time, and flora is all the plant life present in a particular region or time. How do we classify water bodies? Unlike animals and plants, bodies of water aren't classified into taxonomic levels, since people around the world use different terms to refer to different types of bodies of water. Trying to create some sort of hierarchical structure of all water bodies isn't really possible. The names change from country to country and from culture to culture, as you will see. Therefore, hydrologists and other people who study water bodies try to classify bodies of water based on their various shapes and characteristics. And what is the difference between rivers and streams? Technically, there is no difference between river and a stream. However, most people use the word river to refer to larger bodies of flowing water, while streams tend to be smaller. But so long as there is water that's flowing a channel down a slope, it could technically be called a river or a stream without upsetting the hydrological community. Do all rivers flow to the sea? No. While many rivers do flow into the sea, there are just as many that don't. You will often find rivers that drain into lakes or into other rivers. Many languages actually make a distinction between rivers that flow into the sea and those that don't, but there is no such distinction in English language. What is a waterway? A waterway is defined as a navigable body of water. In nautical terms, navigable means that a passage is calm enough, deep enough, and wide enough to allow a vessel to safely pass through it. However, what's navigable for a small dinghy might not be navigable for a cargo ship. So the word waterway is a bit vague unless you know the specific context. What's the difference between an ocean and a sea? Geographers generally agree that oceans are larger than seas. Seas are often partially enclosed by land masses, such as with the Mediterranean Sea or the Caribbean Sea. They are also often located in a sort of transition zone between ocean and land. But In casual conversation, most people use the words ocean and sea interchangeably. This is a video, a short video that gives you an introduction about different types of water bodies.
Today we're going on a global water tour. No passport needed. We're checking out some of the major water bodies and systems around the world. From massive oceans to winding rivers, these water systems are what keep our planet flowing, so let's dive in. First up, let's talk about river systems. Rivers are like nature's highways, moving water from one place to another. But they're not just single streams, they're part of a whole network of smaller rivers and streams called tributaries that all feed into a main river. Take the Amazon River in South America. It's the largest river by volume, and it has thousands of tributaries that flow into it, creating the Amazon Basin. This basin is so huge, it's home to the world's largest rainforest. River systems like the Amazon are crucial because they carry water, nutrients, and even people across large areas. Next, we've got drainage basins. Think of a drainage basin like a giant bathtub. Everything that falls into it eventually drains out through a single outlet, usually a river. A famous example is the Mississippi River Basin in the United States. This basin covers about 40% of the continental U.S., meaning rain that falls in places as far apart as Montana and New York might end up flowing into the Mississippi River. Drainage basins are super important because they help manage where water goes and how it flows, making sure that rivers and lakes stay filled and that we don't end up with too much water in one place. Now, let's splash into lakes. Lakes are basically big bowls of water surrounded by land. They can be fresh or salt water, small or massive. The largest lake in the world? That would be the Caspian Sea. Even though it's called a sea, it's actually a lake because it's landlocked. Another cool one is Lake Baikal in Siberia. It's the deepest lake in the world and holds about 20% of the world's unfrozen freshwater. Lakes are important for drinking water, recreation, and they often have their own unique ecosystems. And then there are the oceans. Oceans are the biggest and baddest water bodies out there, covering over 70% of the Earth's surface. We usually break them up into 5 major ones: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Southern, and Arctic oceans. The Pacific Ocean is the largest. It's so big that it's wider than the moon. Oceans are super important because they regulate the Earth's climate, provide food, and are home to millions of species. Plus, they're key to global trade, with ships crisscrossing them every day. So what's the big deal with these water bodies and systems? Well, they're all connected. River systems feed into lakes and oceans. Drainage basins control the flow of water across land, and oceans connect continents and influence weather patterns all over the world. Without these water systems, life on Earth would be totally different. Probably impossible. That's it for today's geography lesson. Next time you're near a river, lake, or ocean, think about the incredible systems at work and how they're all part of one big watery world.
Now we are going to, after the video, try to look at the characteristics of water bodies. And here is a general classification into ocean, seas, lakes, and rivers. Oceans, these are the largest bodies of salt water on Earth. Seas are partially enclosed with land and are smaller than oceans. Lakes are large water bodies of fresh water surrounded by land. Rivers are flowing water bodies that originate from other sources. Here are some smaller icons showing waterfalls, strait, ocean, lake, wetland, bay, river, and pond. But the following is a detailed list that contains 48 different types of water bodies. Some of them are shown in the icons, and the others are shown in the list to the right of the infograph, and we are going to go through them one by one in alphabetic order. There are 48 types of water bodies as reported by the report written by the two authors that I took the information from. When most of us picture bodies of water, we think of lakes, rivers, streams, and oceans. However, there are dozens of different types of bodies of water out there, each of which plays a vital role in its local ecosystems. That being said, most types of bodies of water can exist in various geographic regions and ecosystems, and the majority of water bodies can take many different shapes and sizes, so categorizing bodies of water is a bit of a futile task because there is an exception to every rule. As a result, we have created this ultimate list of the different bodies of water and organized them alphabetically to allow you to easily find what you are looking for.
An arroyo is a small creek or stream found in desert areas originating from the Spanish word arroyo and is commonly used in Spanish-speaking countries. They are dry, sandy creek beds that flood during severe weather. While most are natural, humans have created them for flood control or irrigation.
A barrachois is a shallow lagoon surrounded by a sandbar, primarily found in Canada's Atlantic provinces in British English. Originating from a mix of French and Basque, barrachois are popular for beaches, marinas, and water-related facilities due to their natural shelter from the elements. The term is sometimes pronounced as barrasway in northern Atlantic Canada.
A bay is a partially enclosed water body found worldwide, typically in coastal regions along the ocean. They are smaller than gulfs, but can be larger than gulfs. Bays can form due to plate tectonics in coastal areas or erosion by the Atlantic Ocean, with the largest being the Bay of Bengal in India. Bayous are slow-moving water bodies found in southeastern U.S. rivers or creeks. They can be shallow, fresh, or saltwater, or a combination of both. Bayous are heavily vegetated and provide excellent ecosystems for local wildlife, with cypress trees and diverse wildlife, including alligators.
Beck, a term originating from Old Norse, refers to a small stream or creek, often used to describe stony creek beds in northern England, particularly in Yorkshire and Northumberland.
Bights are shallow coastal features along eroded shorelines, forming gradual recesses that open into large bays. They pose a significant hazard to ships and navigation, leading to their special note on nautical charts and danger buoys. The Great Australian Bight is one of the world's largest.
Billabongs are oxbow lakes formed by rivers eroding away from the landscape. They are a significant source of water for indigenous peoples in Australia and continue to play a crucial role in the country's ecosystems today. The term billabong originates from the Wiradjuri word billabang and is often used outside Australia.
A brook, also known as a bourne, is a small stream commonly used in British English. It can refer to seasonal or intermittent streams, permanent flows, or very small brooks, with some towns in the UK using variations of the word bourne.
The term burn is a term primarily used in Scotland, New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Ulster in northern England, referring to large streams. In Scotland, there are several streams called burns, and town names like Blackburn and Tyburn. Canals are man-made water bodies used for boat travel between major bodies of water. Famous examples include the Panama Canal and Suez Canal, which connect the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Canals were crucial before railroads and motor vehicles, with the Erie Canal connecting New York City to the St. Lawrence Seaway in the 1800s. Channels are wide waterways between islands or landmasses, often referred to as straits. The English Channel, the most famous, separates France and England. Smaller channels, like the Ambrose Channel in New York City, are dredged for cargo passage. Coves are small bays sheltered from water bodies, often rocky inlets or sandy ones with narrow entrances. They form over time due to weathering and erosion, especially in areas with easily weathered rock types like limestone, leaving behind the coves we see today.
A creek is a relatively small stream of flowing water, typically smaller than rivers and streams in North America and other English-speaking regions. In the United Kingdom, it may refer to a tidal inlet along the ocean, though this is an uncommon use.
Deltas are landforms formed at the mouth of large rivers, providing nutrient-rich wetland ecosystems for seabirds and other species. The Nile River Delta is the most famous, covering 150 mi of coastline. Rivers deposit sediment before reaching the ocean, creating braided channels that support wetland habitats. However, not all major rivers form deltas due to strong currents and waves. Distributaries are waterways that branch off major rivers, flowing away from the main body. They are common in river deltas and glacial rivers due to the large amounts of sediment deposited by these branches. Estuaries, located at the intersection of freshwater and saltwater, are crucial ecosystems for various species, including fish, as they provide their nursery grounds. They are also popular birdwatching locations, but their delicate nature can be disrupted by changes in salt concentration or pH. While many estuaries are protected, more work is needed to protect these fragile areas from natural and human-caused disasters.
The term firth is primarily used in Scotland to describe the outlet of a large river, which often contains fresh water before becoming brackish estuaries. The most famous firth is the Firth of Forth, located north of Edinburgh. Other firths include the River Forth, Forth Estuary, and Firth of Forth. They experience tidal fluctuations and can be referred to as large inlets or fjords outside Scotland. Other famous firths include the Firth of Thames in New Zealand and the Firth of Tay in Antarctica.
Fjords are large, glacially carved valleys filled with seawater, found in coastal Norway, Alaska, Svalbard, Antarctica, Chile, Argentina, and Greenland. They are deep, narrow, and often have steep cliffs, providing dramatic scenery with large, steep cliffs on either side.
A gulf is a large ocean inlet, typically larger than a bay like the Gulf of Mexico. They are connected to the ocean and contain salt water, making them ideal for harbors. However, some gulfs, cut off from major ocean currents, can exacerbate local environmental problems, such as pesticide and fertilizer runoff causing fish populations to die.
A harbor is a sheltered body of water, either natural or artificial. They are crucial for the global shipping and maritime industry, providing safe anchorage for vessels. Major harbors are maintained for large ships' navigation and can be affected by storms. Inlets are narrow entrances to larger bodies of water, ranging from a few miles to 180 miles long. They can be small or large, such as the Cook Inlet in Alaska. Collective inlets, such as Puget Sound in Washington State and Howe Sound in Vancouver, British Columbia, are also known as sounds.
Kettle lakes or kettles form after glaciers recede, leaving behind large depressions and deep pits. They are usually small and shallow but can be miles long. They are often found near the foot of large glaciers.
The term kill is a term derived from the Middle Dutch word kille, meaning riverbed or water channel. It is used to describe small rivers, streams, or creeks, and is still used in parts of New York and New Jersey, where the term was colonized by the Dutch.
Lagoons are bodies of water separated from larger bodies by barriers, often found in coastal environments. There are two types: atoll lagoons, created when an island is submerged, and coastal lagoons formed along coastlines. Atoll lagoons form when coral grows from submerged islands, while coastal lagoons are shallower and cut off by sandbars, reefs, or islands. A lake is a surface water body that collects runoff from local streams and rivers. Saltwater lakes, such as the Great Salt Lake in Utah, are popular. Other large lakes include the Great Lakes in the United States and Canada, Russia's Lake Baikal, Lake Victoria in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Great Bear Lake in Canada. These lakes are not only freshwater but also massive. Lochs are almost always lakes in Scotland, with notable examples like Loch Avon and Loch Ness. However, there is one lake in Scotland, not a loch, Lake Menteith, which was originally called the Loch of Menteith in the 19th century. Marshes, wetland ecosystems with grasses, sedges, and rushes, form freshwater habitats near shallow lakes and rivers. Important for waterfowl, amphibians, and fish, marshes provide a safe haven. Moats, water-filled trenches used for protection during the Middle Ages, are now largely ornamental, and some support their own freshwater ecosystems, a remnant of a bygone era. Oceans, the largest body of water on Earth, cover 71% of the planet's surface. Divided into Pacific, Indian, Atlantic, Arctic, and Southern oceans, they contain saltwater, which humans cannot drink. However, many rivers flow into the ocean. Oxbow lakes are remarkable water bodies that showcase Earth's surface changes. They form over time due to riverbanks shifting, creating a meandering path. As the water seeks the least resistance path, large curves become cut off, creating oxbow lakes. These stagnant lakes, often dry up, can sometimes become bogs supporting local ecosystems. A pond is a small freshwater body, typically smaller than a lake. They support amphibians like frogs and salamanders and are crucial in ecosystems. Some large ponds are called ponds globally. Human-made ponds are common landscaping features. Puddles are small, muddy pools formed after heavy rain or snowmelt, typically a few feet wide. They are loosely used in English but are generally smaller than ponds in geographical contexts. Reservoirs, human-created lakes, are often found in hydroelectric dams. Despite being a relatively recent invention, reservoirs have been created for millennia, primarily for irrigation and drinking water supply. Rivers are water bodies that flow downhill due to gravity, with thousands of them on Earth. The world's longest rivers, such as the Nile, Amazon, and Yangtze, are thousands of miles long. There are over 50 seas on Earth, each with its own unique definition. A sea is a part of the ocean partially bordered by land, with some being landlocked, others poorly defined, and others almost completely surrounded by land, like the Mediterranean Sea. Sea lochs, not freshwater lakes, are tidal inlets located along the western coast of Scotland. Famous sea lochs include Loch Nevis, Loch Fyne, and Loch Eel. These tidal inlets are crucial for marine life as they provide shelter from the open ocean, allowing rare species to thrive in their still waters. A sound is a large ocean inlet, similar to a bay but smaller. The most famous sound is Long Island Sound, located between Long Island, New York, and Connecticut. Other notable sounds include Plymouth Sound in Massachusetts and Scoresby Sound in Greenland. Springs are water bodies formed when groundwater from aquifers or aquifers rises to the Earth's surface, often found in valleys. They can vary in size and are seasonal, so be cautious when using them for water. Straits are narrow bodies of water that connect larger bodies of water, such as the Denmark Strait between Iceland and Greenland, or smaller channels like the Strait of Gibraltar. They are crucial for sailors and geopolitical entities as they provide entryways into bodies of water, giving countries strategic importance in the local shipping industry. A stream is a flowing body of water along Earth's surface, often used to refer to smaller rivers. There's no technical difference between a river and a stream, but some argue streams flow into rivers. Subglacial lakes formed under ice sheets or glaciers are unique bodies of water. Antarctica alone has a few hundred subglacial lakes, with the most famous being Lake Vostok, located 13,100 feet below the Antarctic ice sheet. Other subglacial lakes exist under the Greenland ice sheet and Iceland's Vatnajökull ice cap. Swamps, a type of wetland, are permanently filled with water and support distinct ecosystems. They are home to dense tree concentrations and are found on every continent except Antarctica. They are most common in warm, humid areas with standing water like Florida's Everglades. However, swamps are breeding grounds for biting insects, making them a breeding ground for diseases like yellow fever, Zika, and malaria. Tarn's small alpine lakes with glistening blue waters form in glacially carved cirques and are often surrounded by glacial moraines. Filled with finely ground glacial sediment, they create stunning mountain landscapes. Tide pools are small, isolated seawater areas and coastlines formed during low tide, trapping water in depressions along rocky beaches. These pools are crucial for biodiversity, supporting sea stars, crustaceans, small fish, and snails that don't return to the ocean during low tide. Tributaries are streams that feed into larger rivers, providing fresh water to the main stem. Most large rivers have dozens or hundreds of smaller tributaries, drained from different watersheds. For example, Asia's Euphrates River has hundreds of tiny tributaries, starting in Turkey and ending in the Persian Gulf. Vernal pools, a type of wetland, are seasonal bodies of water in Mediterranean climates, particularly in the western United States. They collect in shallow depressions after spring snowmelt, often transforming into beautiful spring wildflowers. Wadis and washes are intermittent creeks that dry up after prolonged drought, leaving behind a sandy creek bed. The term wadi is more prevalent in northern Africa, but can refer to various water bodies, making it confusing on a global scale. Wetlands are water bodies, where standing water covers large areas of soil for most of the year, supporting aquatic animals like fish. There are inland and tidal wetlands, with inland wetlands found away from coastal environments, and tidal wetlands in coastal areas, often connected to estuaries, making them hotspots for biodiversity.
Now, after the beautiful photos that we saw about the 48 types of water bodies, we are going to end our presentation with bodies of water fun facts. The first fun fact is the Sargasso Sea is the only sea that doesn't have a land boundary. While most areas are located close to land, the Sargasso Sea is one exception to that rule. In fact, the Sargasso Sea is defined only by its surrounding ocean currents within the greater North Atlantic subtropical gyre. This might sound like a bunch of technical jargon, but the sea is bounded by the west by the Gulf Stream, to the north by the North Atlantic Current, to the south by the North Atlantic Equatorial Current, and to the east by the Canary Current. Lake Baikal is the deepest lake in the world. While we don't often think of lakes as being particularly deep, Lake Baikal in Siberia is the deepest lake in the world at a depth of more than 1.7 kilometers. The lake is also considered to be the oldest in the world with an age of 25 million years. It is the largest lake by total volume, as it contains approximately 20% of the world's fresh water that's not trapped in ice. The Nile is the world's longest river. It's a tough competition, but the Nile River is the world's longest river. It has a total length of 6,648 kilometers, which makes it ever so slightly longer than the Amazon in South America and the Yangtze in China. However, there is some dispute among scientists as to whether the Amazon is actually longer than the Nile. The Gulf of Mexico is the largest gulf in terms of total coastline. While there are many ways to measure the size of a gulf, the Gulf of Mexico is the largest in terms of total coastline. With a coastline of about 5,000 kilometers, the Gulf of Mexico is bordered by the United States, Mexico, and Cuba. Most of the world's fresh water is tapped in ice. According to the United States Geological Survey, approximately 68.7% of the world's fresh water is stored inside glaciers, ice sheets, and ice caps. Additionally, approximately 30.1% of planet's fresh water is groundwater, such as aquifers. That means just 1.2% of all fresh water is surface water, such as the lakes and rivers that dot the landscape. This is my concluding slide. This presentation takes us in a photo tour of water bodies. It started with general information, then detailed list and definition of 48 water bodies, and ended with some surprising facts. The following presentation, the other two, show how this presentation is used as course material, and the other two videos will show corresponding exercises and innovative teaching methods using playing cards.